So let's talk about the first step, right? Let's talk about the ladies' first step of the blues. So we have an outside edge followed by the cross roll and a crossover, and an outside edge followed by the cross roll and the crossover. So when we do that backward outside edge, we want to try to make it as deep as possible. At the same time, we want to come up from our extended knee and then go back down onto that knee before we do the cross roll. So when you do it by yourself, not with a partner, but by yourself, the easiest way to make that edge nice and deep is by opening up your upper body, but at the same time leaning into the circle. So if that is my circle right here, and that space is inside of the circle, I'm gonna lean into that circle, but I'm gonna open up outside of it. So let's do that exercise. We're just gonna do that one edge. We're gonna do it 10 times on the right leg, and then we're gonna do it 10 times on the left. So we're gonna pre-bend over our left leg. We're gonna push and come up onto our right leg, opening up outside of the circle, which is on our left side, but leaning to the right. And then we go back down, bringing our heels together. And do it again. So face the circle as you start, then push, come up and open up, leave your nose with your screen and lean inside of the circle, then bend, and then bend your standing knee, bringing your knees together, bringing your heels together. And again, now do the same thing on the other leg. So we're gonna keep that same circle right here, but we're gonna push on to the left leg. We're gonna twist to the right, keeping our noses with our screens, which is gonna allow our nose to stay with our blade, with our toes. And start twisting, twist it to the left, push and come up, twist to the right, then go down, and then bend your helix knee. And again, bend, push and come up, down, there. So we figured out how to put our upper body in relation to the lower body so that first outside edge gets us into the circle. Now, the next comes the cross roll. What is the cross roll? Cross roll is a roll across our tracing. So we have to roll our free legs blade across our standing legs blade to get onto the new curve. So two outside edges connected with a cross creates letter S, right? So that cross roll should get us from one semicircle to the other semicircle. So our blade literally should go slightly across of the current tracing. For that to happen, we want to turn our knee out. We do not want to prepare for the cross roll, keeping our knees together, because the only step I can get out of it is straight. So it's going to be two outside edges with push in between. There's going to be no crossing motion. So as we bend our free leg knee, we want to turn it out, finding one heel with the other heel, and then starting to put our foot down and push off our currently standing leg, which is in my case was my right. Now, we opened up outside of the circle. We lean inside of the circle. We finished that outside edge. We went back down. As I prepare my leg for that cross, my upper body has to go back to neutral, which is vertical. So when my foot hits the floor and my other leg leaves the floor, I start leaning onto the new circle. And then I'm gonna keep that lean with the next step. So let's do just cross rolls, stepping away from the camera. So get as close to the camera as possible. Find that position, arms parallel with the floor. And then we're gonna slide. And as we slide, we open up. And then we bend, we go to vertical, and then we slide. And we twist and slightly lean. And now let's try to connect our first outside edge through the cross roll with the crossover to the next outside edge. So we push from the left and to the right. We prepare for the push, facing the circle. Now we push and we open up outside of the circle, keeping the lean inside of the circle. We finish that curve. Then we start bending our knees, turning our free leg out, getting our upper body to square position with our hips and vertical. And as I go through the cross roll, I start opening up my upper body to the right, creating the very slight lean over that left circle. Then I do the cross. As I bring my feet together, I push and I enhance that twist and lean so I can get back to the wall on my left outside edge. And then I'm back to the cross roll, going through the square position with my hips and my shoulder. That technique gonna work only when you do it solo. With the partner, it's gonna be completely different. So if you have to do it, if you do it with a partner, you cannot open up outside of the circle, because then your partner won't be able to match your position. So with a partner, it's a different technique. By yourself, when you do solo, that's how you achieve those deep edges. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Now, next step, 4 counts outside edge. So nice and deep edge, bringing us around the corner. So it's not only deep, but it has to cover a lot of space. That means that we have to enter that edge with speed. That speed we have to take from those beginning pushes. So we have to be aggressive with the crossroads and crossover and a push into an outside edge. Let's say we got to the corner, we got to that right backward outside edge, and we have enough speed to cover the entire corner. So how do we make it in the way so our blade covers that corner and doesn't dive into the circle so much that we lose control? We want to do the same thing. We want to push and open up as much as you can, as much as we can outside of the circle, leaving our head inside of the circle. So we pretty much want to create that kind of position when our leg is out there, holding that outside edge. So you see how my head is anchoring my upper body inside of my circle without letting me, which helps me not to overturn that outside edge and fall out of it. So I push onto an outside edge, I pick my leg up, I can do a double bend, or I can do just a nice long run de jambe, and then I rise over my knees, bringing my heel to the middle of my foot, still keeping my nose over my right shoulder, leaning into the circle. And then right before I have to step forward, I turn my head, I rebend, and I push. And when I push from the backward outside onto the forward outside, I step over my back. So what does that mean? What stepping over my back means? That means that I need to go from one shoulder to the other shoulder, keeping my back with the circle through that transition. So I do not bring my right shoulder forward to step forward. I go to my left shoulder to step forward. Now, the next part is the cross roll and an outside swing roll. So we stepped out onto the, out of that run de jambe, out of that right outside backward edge onto the left forward outside. My left hand is in front. I lean to the left, my blade gets me towards the blue line. Then as I do the cross roll, I do not want to change my leading arm. I just want to keep that same arm in front, and then through the cross roll forward, I'm just going to change my lean. So I don't do a lot of changes. I just do one, and that's the change in the lean through the cross roll. So I lean to the left, then as my leg goes through that cross roll, I go to vertical, and then I push off my outside edge, and when my leg gets out, I create the lean over my new circle, which is my right outside edge. Then I get to my right arm, and then I swing underneath that. So one more time, let's do it with me. Let's push onto the right outside edge, then come up, turn your head, step forward with your left hand guiding you, leaning to the left, and then the cross roll changes the lean, your leading arm stays, your leg gets out, then you change your leading arm through that edge, and then you swing underneath that arm, which is your right arm. How do we change the leading arm? We just skate our blade or our toes to the other arm. So if my left arm was guiding me at the beginning of the edge, I'm just gonna leave my arms where they are in space, and I'm gonna skate my toes towards my right hand, and then I'm gonna swing. Got it nicely. Now, next is the promenade, right? 2 crossovers. connected with each other with a slight variation of the way we execute them. So the first crossover has to have a lilt in it and 2 counts long. 1, 2, then we have 3, 4, and then we have the last inside edge of the second crossover, also 2 counts. For this part, it doesn't really matter whether you do it by yourself or with the partner. If you're the female partner, you're gonna have your right hand in front in foxtrot position, and you're also gonna have the same hand in front if you do it solo. So this part is executed the same in both cases. So we're gonna keep our right hand in front, we're gonna look to the right, and we're gonna go through that crossover, looking and leaning slightly outside of the circle. So there's nothing special about the execution of that crossover. We want to just push as much as we can to be as aggressive as possible, going from one foot onto the other, covering space with each step. So we get as far away. So we cover the corner first, and then we get as far away from the long wall as possible. So we have a space for the rest of the dance. Now, Choktaw. There are 2 ways of entering the Choktaw. You can enter the Choktaw with the right hand and then keep that position through the Choktaw, or you can go with the left hand and then change the twist. There is no wrong or right. Both versions are good versions, but you will have to try both of them to see which one works for you. So some of us like to enter with the opposite hand in front in relation to our standing leg, which gives us a little more control over our upper body. But some of us want to be aggressive entering and then use the counter twist of your upper body to exit. Again, both of those versions are good options. So let's talk about both of them. Let's say we finished our crossover. We have our right hand in front. We look to the right. Now we're gonna keep that position, that lean to the right, and that right hand, we're gonna push off an inside edge onto an inside edge. Our leg gonna leave the floor. We're gonna move it back so our foot places itself right over our heel. And then we're gonna start bringing the middle of our foot to our heel, because that's the position for the proper execution of the Choktaw. The middle of the instep has to be against your heel. And then from there, we're gonna push off that left leg, and we're gonna turn it out as much as we can, facilitating the depth of that exit edge, right? So we change nothing as far as the upper body, lower body relationship goes. We were here before, and we're here after. So literally, nothing changed. The only thing what we need to focus on in this case, it's after the push, send our leg back, so it does a little, like a rond de jambe behind our tracing, so it lands on the heel. Okay, now, we are there. Then we have a cross roll. When we do that outside edge out of the Choktaw, we have only 2 counts to establish the curve and to define the letter S shape of the Choktaw. Then after that, we have the cross roll, and then we have 4 count edge bringing us back to the wall. If we push out of the Choktaw and we turn our head to the left, we're gonna define the edge, but it's gonna be very hard for us to transfer to the other side through the cross roll with force. So if we define that edge and we skate it far away from the wall, it's gonna be very hard for us to come back to that wall. So the easiest way to control that and to make sure that you have enough force for that last outside edge, leave your head with the right shoulder. So I entered my Choktaw looking to the right, I exit my Choktaw looking to the right. And through the cross roll, I can either turn my head to the left or I can turn my head to the right. Because for that long outside edge, it doesn't really matter where you look, as long as you're comfortable with the movement and you're back to the wall, you're fine. So you can, I like to look to the left. It helps me to create that nice lean over the circle. And then I turn my head as I step. But if you open your head before that, it's also good. So let's go through the Choktaw with the right hand in front, and let's try to get to the end of that dance. So we finish our cross-toe, right hand is in front, we look to the right. We push, we stand our leg back, looking to the right. We bend our knee, we bring the middle of our foot to our heel. Then we push onto the right outside edge, opening up to the left as much as we can, turning our leg out, our head stays to the right. Through the cross roll, I'm gonna bring my upper body through the center, which means that my shoulder is gonna be over my hips for like half a second, and then I transfer to the other side, opening up to the right, holding that nice and long 4-count outside edge, either looking to the left or to the right.